Hello, students, and welcome to U.S. History. This presentation is your course overview, or sometimes we call it a syllabus, and this tells you all the basics that you need to know for the course before we start to dive into our curriculum. So first things first, you want to take notes during the presentation. The sheet is not in your packet, so be sure to get it from the teacher so that you can take notes. First things first, welcome to U.S. History. We are going to look at what we are going to learn this year, so the content. So there are two levels of history, and you're enrolled in one. For on-level history, it's an in-depth study of United States social, cultural, intellectual, political, and economic development, which will lead the student to a better understanding of his or her society. What are we studying? We are studying the post-Civil War era in America. So the 1870s and on. So in your notes for what are you going to learn? You're going to learn U.S. history after 1870. There is an emphasis on skills and knowledge that you need for the end of course exam. I'll call this the EOC. You will be taking this exam in April. It is required for all U.S. history students, regardless of level. And this gets you a seal if you perform well on it in order to graduate from high school. This is a state of Ohio requirement, and thus it's a Mayfield requirement, but we have to do it because it is a state requirement. It will be similar to what you might remember as like a STAR test. For honors U.S. history, same content. We are going to study the 1870s on. But for honors, the emphasis will be placed on improvement in essay composition, analysis and interpretation of original source materials, as well as assessing the relevance, reliability, and importance of other types of historical evidence. If you are planning on taking any advanced placement courses in the social studies department, this is the course you would like to be enrolled in. Again, emphasis on the skills and knowledge that you need to pass the end of course exam is also a major focus in this class. If you are enrolled in honors or on level, you will have to take the required State of Ohio end of course exam, which I will refer to as the EOC several times throughout the year. So your required text, the McDougall-Littell Americans is a PDF that you can access online. When we need that, I will link it right into the module folder. But you also, this week, will be receiving this book. And this is aligned with the EOC, or the end of course test. And this will be our primary text for the course. You will have a little sticker up here that you will put your name on it so that you don't lose track of it. But you want to take care of this. You will be doing work in it pretty much every week. So you want to make sure to keep track of this, keep it in a safe place, and bring it to class every single day. Required materials. You need a 2-inch 3-ring binder with about 50 pages of loose leaf paper. A planning journal. Freshmen, you have received a journal from the school. You want to bring that every day. You will be using that in the option program because eventually, when time becomes more flexed, you are going to have to plan out what you need to accomplish every day. You need a pen and a pencil, a charged Chromebook, the book I was just telling you about, the Mastering Ohio's American History Standards book every day. And then you also need to have your headphones or earbuds, something that you can use with a Chromebook. It has to be compatible with a Chromebook. These need not be expensive. I think it's almost just as good to get a couple of cheap pairs in case you lose them or they break from like Five Below or Target or Walmart or Drug Mart, and just have a couple handy with you. So units of study, first semester, we're doing this first unit on just learning about the option and historical thinking skills. Then we'll look at historical documents. Some of these you may be somewhat familiar with, like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, etc. Then we'll get into industrialization and progressivism, imperialism and World War I, and then the 1920s and Great Depression. This will take us into our midterm exam, which will happen in January, and it will be a cumulative exam that covers all 5 of these units. And then second semester, we'll do World War II, the Cold War, social transformation, the post-Cold War world era. And then the EOC review. The EOC takes place at the end of April. So, how are we going to learn? This is what sets the option apart from a traditional classroom. So, we're going to learn through blended learning, self-paced structures. You're going to need to stay on pace, and mastery-based learning. So, what is blended learning? This will not be a typical classroom with me in front of the classroom. You will be guided by teacher-made videos like this one. You should work with peers and discuss your learning daily. You will navigate through the assignments with the help of recorded videos, peers, or asking questions to me. Self-paced learning means that each day you'll be in charge of your learning. You will check the unit lessons list on Schoology and the Infinite Campus to track your progress and plan for your learning each day. There will be due dates as well as on-pace reminders. It's up to you to stay on pace and use class time to complete the modules and achieve mastery. If you fall behind one day, and it may happen, it's really important to do some homework. So homework in a lot of ways is self-created. And I do understand sometimes we just don't have the day we set out to have. And things happen and you're not as productive as you had hoped to be. Then you may need to do more outside of class in order to get back on pace. And that's what I was just saying. Depending on your progress, you may have to do some work at home. You will have until the summative date to complete the unit work. If there are extenuating circumstances, you can apply for an extension, and these will be considered on a case-by-case basis. And if you fall behind, you will not necessarily be able to reach the aspire to do level, which we'll talk about in a minute. If you are finding yourself falling behind or struggling to keep up pace, you need to focus on the must do and the should do. As we get better at pacing ourselves, then you can extend to the aspire to do's. So mastery-based learning, when you're done with a module and you feel confident in the material, you'll do a mastery check. You're going to submit your assignments on Schoology or turn in any activities. I gave you that packet. Most of your activities in this unit will be turned in on that. You will come up to me, turn in your phone, and the mastery checks are typically short answer questions. Occasionally, it's a Google form. They are completed individually in a designated area under my supervision. You must get 80% to earn mastery and move on to the next module. If you score below 80%, we'll talk about revisions you need to make. You must master one lesson to move on to the next lesson. Do not work ahead if you're waiting on a mastery check. You must do one before you go on to the other. So what should you do in class? When you come into class every day, the first thing you should do is check the pacing guide in Infinite Campus. The pacing guide is on Schoology. It's the first link in your unit folder. And then check your gradebook at Infinite Campus to see if anything's missing. If you have not turned it in, missing will be clicked and you will see that it is missing. If it's blank and there doesn't seem to be anything going on, that means maybe it's not due yet, or I haven't yet graded it. I will put comments in if it's pending grading. You'll complete the modules. These are found in Schoology in the unit folder. There will be instructions and digital materials for each module. Ask for help from peers, rewatch videos, seek out a conference with me. Work collaboratively, but make sure you understand what you're learning. Then you'll complete the mastery check. Again, turn your module, come up to me, give me your phone, and independently complete the mastery check at the mastery table. And either you're going to revise or move on to the next module. If you earn under an 80%, you're going to have to revise, and you'll speak to your teacher about what is the best route for revisions. So what am I going to be doing? You're doing all this work and you're self-directing. What am I doing? Well, I'm meeting one-on-one or in small groups with students who may need some support or who have questions. I'm checking in with you on your progress, and I'm providing you with video instructions that you can go back to for more help. I'm grading your mastery checks, and I'm updating the progress tracker. So while it may seem like I'm just kind of sitting there and doing, a little bit of work, I'm actually doing a lot of work. And what you probably don't see or don't understand is all of these videos are made on my own time. So I do a significant amount of work outside of class to make sure that you can pace or self-pace inside of class. So how do I keep on top of my progress? In a nutshell, go to Schoology and check the pacing guide and due dates, access the digital materials and dated folders on Schoology, and then check your completion on your gradebook in Infinite Campus. So, how will I be graded? That's always an important question for students. So, this is overall semester grading. So, when you're looking at your semester grade in January, quarter one is going to be 40% of the grade. Quarter two is going to be 40% of the grade. And the midterm or the final exam at the end of the year will be 20% of your grade. Okay. So, that's how the semester is graded. Within those quarters, we do have weighted grades. So, any lessons you do on Schoology and mastery checks are 10% of your overall grade. You're probably like, what? That's not much. You're right, it's not much. But this is showing me that you're doing the work to learn. Summative assessments are 90% of the grade. So this is tests at the end of the unit, any checkpoint quizzes that are not mastery checks, and any projects we do or extensive writing assignments. Those are 90% of your grade. So this is demonstrating what you actually have accomplished and what you know. So you'll see in the unit as we do the lessons and mastery check, your grade may be looking really, really good. But when we get to the summative, that's summative. If you get an A on the summative, chances are you're going to get an A in the class. If you get a B on it, you have a B in the class, C, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so those summatives are what are really important. So on level grading, we have three types of activities in each unit. First, you have the must do. You're required to do the must do. By doing the must do, you get at least the opportunity to earn up to a 75%. This is largely reading the chapter and taking notes, doing the mastery checks for those. Step two is your should do. At the end of the Mastering the Ohio American History assessment, there are practice questions. These are EOC style questions. They're more than just your basic information or knowledge. You try them, you get feedback, you correct your errors. And it's really important to have lots of experience with these types of questions because sometimes it's not only what you know, but being able to work through a question that's asking you a broader idea. Sometimes you can really think through and cross off a couple of responses that you know are not true just by practicing the types of questions. Then step three is doing the aspire to do, and this is extending your learning. So this is digging in deeper and extending your knowledge and thinking skills. So more writing, more looking at historical evidence and assessing it. For honors, a little bit different. If you do the very basics, the must-dos, just basic factual information that you need to know for history class, you can earn up to 70%. Doing the should do or those EOC practice questions gets you up to an 80% or a B. In order to strive for that A, you would do the aspire to do's, which is an additional 20%. Both of these, the step one, step two, step three, apply to our assessments or summative assessments too, because you will see that I will put on the test a bank of questions that are basic recall questions: who, what, where, when. I won't ever actually ask you just dates and things like that. We're working within eras. So your basic ideas about that unit. The should do are going to be EOC style questions, and you can get an additional 10% for performing well on those. Your aspire to do questions are going to be written, stimulus based, looking at historical evidence, and that will get you an additional 20% on the test. So, your level of achievement not only happens every day in the classroom as you're learning, but also on your tests at the end of the unit. So, what determines my grade in class? And I've said this already, your summatives. So the daily learning activities are how we get to the summatives. So just kind of not really engaging on a day-to-day basis, maybe just throwing in random answers on a piece of paper are not going to get you to that excellent performance on a summative. So you do have to do the legwork. That's why it may seem counterintuitive that they're not worth a lot. But the point is, you have to do the learning. You have to engage in the learning. And if you're doing that, your summatives are going to be just fine. So, what happens if I don't do well on a summative, particularly a test? If you achieve lower than a 70% on a summative test, projects are not included, you are required to complete a test correction. If you earn under a 90%, corrections are encouraged but not required. So, this is a process. First, you're going to have to relearn. If you've only been doing the must do's, I'm going to have you sit and review your must do's and complete any missing should do's. Okay. So what that means is doing the basic, 75% of the course wasn't enough for you. So we're going to go up a level and do the should do's. Then you're going to look at your old test. You're going to look at the missed items and you are going to correct those missed items on the taken test and show me where we learned that information. Then you're going to take a new test. The new test will ask you about the concepts that you missed. So your new grade is proportionate to your improvement. So most students improve about 1 to 1.5 letter grades by completing a test correction. So if you earned a 60%, by doing a test correction, your learning is going to improve. And if that's, when that happens, you will maybe go up to a 70 or 75%. So these must be completed no later than 1 week before the close of the quarter. Once the quarter ends, the test corrections for the completed quarter also end. So you need to be timely about this. I work with you, but also you're going to make sure that you advocate for yourself and that this becomes a priority before you dive into too far into the next unit. Summative corrections are not extended to projects. When I assign you a project and you're working on it, you have me as a resource and plenty of support as you complete them. If you are using your class time effectively, you are able to ask me as you create that project for support and feedback. If you choose to not do that, that's a poor decision. It is really important that as you're working, you engage with me and check in. Any open notes, quizzes, or tests, these happen occasionally, are not extended test corrections because all of the information is there for you to access. And it's just a matter of how well did you do on your learning assignments. So again, those two situations, summative corrections are not extended to projects and open note tests and quizzes. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to review your notes and then see me to take your mastery check. Thank you for listening.